Yo, what is good, Knicks Nation? Welcome back to another Knicks Media live stream. It's been a long time, and we're back, and we got two special guests on tonight's show, John and Alex from the Jets, Knicks, etc. podcast. Alex is a contributor with Knicks Fan TV, so you guys are familiar with him. John is a contributor for Jet Press, so these guys are everywhere. We share the same sports teams outside of baseball. We're not going to get into that. So this is all about the Knicks. We finally got Knicks basketball to talk about. Last night, we saw the debuts of Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier. We see the rookies get some burn. We see Julius Randle, all the guys that we love that last season looked so good for them back in the Garden. So starting off with just going around the table, introducing your guys, yourself. John, why don't you introduce yourself for everybody? How you doing today, man?
What's up, Richie? Thanks for having us. We had you on the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast a couple weeks ago, talking Jets, talking a little Mets, and I'm always talking Knicks. I'm good, man. I'm really hyped that we're not talking about baseball, but as you know, it's football and basketball season. The Jets are looking okay, and dude, coming off that Knicks preseason win, I mean, everything is looking good. We have no problems. Everything is great in Knicks land, so everything is great in my world. So thanks for having us on, man.
Of course, John. Of course. It just feels crazy. Like everything's going well in Knicks world. Alex, are you used to this? Because I'm not used to this. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, Richie. And just like John said, Jets had that fantastic, heart in your throat win against the Tennessee Titans. Still living high off of that. Knicks just dominated last night in preseason. Looked like they're in regular season form, but what else is new with the Tom Thibodeau-led team, right? These guys are going to win every single game. I'm expecting to go 4-0 in the preseason, so I'm ready for this team. But yeah, like what John said, and what you're saying, it's Richie. It's weird to say that the New York Knicks are the team that we have to rely on to bring us joy. We both know that we root for different baseball teams. Both baseball teams failed us this season in more ways than one. But hey, we got the Jets, who's got an organization, new team to look forward to, because when you were on our podcast, we kind of talked about how they're kind of similar, new front office, new structure, new team, a lot of positives to go around. And now the Knicks, who've accelerated their rebuild, they're just in a way where, man, this team, I'm excited, man. This offense looks way better than last season. I'm excited for the regular season to start.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting, guys. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Hope you guys are enjoying your night. It feels good to be back live on Knicks Media. I know that I did not do any live streams throughout the offseason. I had a lot of things to work on with the Jets and the Mets. So now we're back, though. It's Knicks season. Guys, if you want to check out Alex and John's podcast, that's down below in the description. Make sure you guys check it out. Their link trees there. You can check them out on Twitter, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you guys go check them out. They're doing great things over there. So first and foremost, guys, let's just talk about last night's victory. It just, first of all, felt really good to watch the Knicks, not only in Madison Square Garden, but to have Mike Breen, Clyde Frazier there. We even had a packed Garden. Seemed like it felt like a regular season game, to be honest, because we're still not used to fans in the arena. We started off the year last year with 0 fans at all, and then all of a sudden it was like 20% fans, and all of a sudden the playoffs, it's 100%. So we're not even used to seeing fans back in the arena. So it was just an overall experience when I'm watching this team, and you guys said it, the offense looks different. Like, it's preseason, and you can't read too much into it, but at the same time, Tom Thibodeau's preseason is the regular season. Like, he is treating every single game like it counts. Just like Alex said, I would not be surprised if they go 4-0 simply because they're going to try harder than any other team, because they're trying to, really understand the system. The Tom Thibodeau system is all about effort. It's all about being in the right spots, especially on defense. And he's calling timeouts up 25 late in the second quarter in preseason. He's pissed off. He's barking at him. It just feels so good that Knicks basketball is back. So, John, what was your biggest takeaway? Obviously, there's so many players we could talk about. We're going to go into the individual players eventually. But what was your just biggest takeaway after you watched that Knicks preseason game last night?
So I had to watch it on replay because I was a little occupied, but it was even better because I was going in there with such happiness and joy, and watching it was, I mean, I agree with John Talento in the comments. It is only one game, but like you said, Richie, Tom Thibodeau, he's like the Peyton Manning of the regular season, right? He's gonna take every game like it's the last game. He's going to have his players ready for the preseason, and as if they're fighting and clawing for minutes. And I know we're going to get into the players in a little bit, but the only thing that I just couldn't take my eyes off of Obi Toppin. I mean, I know I'm a little high on Obi Toppin, than most going into the season, but I can't get my eyes off him. He looks like Sean Marion right now, and I know it's only one game. I know it's only the preseason, but like, how can I not be excited about 15 minutes off the bench of some sort of Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, poor man hybrid? That's exciting for me. So right away, that's what caught my eye, and he showed out. The one thing that always worries me, man, is those offseason videos, the workouts, right? Them shooting, Ben Simmons hitting threes. Everyone can do everything in the offseason. And then Mitch Robinson hits threes in the offseason. And then they come in and they don't show out. Obi Toppin, first game, showed out. It's preseason. It means absolutely nothing. But at the same time, the Knicks are who we thought they were. Thibodeau is who we thought they were. Everybody's buying in. Kemba's buying in. And I'm content. Like, I'm happy.
Yeah, man. The offense looks so fluid. Obi Toppin, that one play he had, put on the floor, beautiful crossover, and then he just does a spin move, and you're just like, whoa, okay, Obi. We didn't see that once from you in your rookie year. That was awesome to see. Alex, what's your biggest takeaways after watching the preseason game? Anything that really stood out to you in particular from seeing the Knicks back in the preseason action?
The starters, man. It really was the starters that stood out to me. Just the ball movement, having four guys that can bring the ball up court, the passing, just the fluid offense. That's the big thing that stuck out to me, because as we know, we had EP, we had Reggie Bullock, guys who couldn't really play make that level. We saw EP bring up the ball, and he'd just pound the living daylights out of the rock for like 10 seconds and pass it to Randle. Then Randle had to do his own thing, or Randle would bring it up, and then Randle was either by himself trying to figure out if it was going to be a two-man game with Bullock, if he's going to go for his guy RJ. Last night, we saw that everyone was in rhythm, whether you had the two-man game with Randle and Evan Fournier, whether it was Kemba looking for RJ out on the wing for an open three, or even just like a closeout on his open three, right? That was contested, and he still knocks it down. You just see everyone like finding everyone in rhythm. It just looked like everyone was in sync. And that's the one thing that really like stuck out to me, because we had to play down. We always had to play down at the beginning of every game last season with EP playing point guard. And now feel that I could say I'm confident that we're not going to have to do that. We're going to be in games. We're either going to have leads, we're going to have, and having the second unit come in who's just going to be just as dynamic as last season. Man, the starting unit is what really caught my eye.
Yeah, and the starting unit was just, they were in sync, like you said. I mean, it really felt like all of a sudden we have multiple playmakers out there. Julius Randle doesn't have the ball and doing isolation all the time. Randle brings up the ball as a point forward, and then all of a sudden you see Kemba playing off the ball, comes off a screen, and then hits a step back three. Like, we have such a unique style of offense this year that's going to be different, because man, it feels good that Peyton's gone. I don't root.
Let it all out, Richie. Let it all out, man.
I hope he does well in Phoenix. Do your thing, Alfred. But man, it felt so good to see Kemba Walker as our starting point guard and not Elfrid Payton anymore, because he just brings a different dimension to the game of basketball. And us as Knicks fans, like, haven't had a point guard, and I don't even know how long, where we can actually say, this guy knows how to run an offense. He knows how to score football. He knows how to score the ball, and he's a playmaker. And I feel like that's what Kemba Walker really showed. So talking about Kemba Walker and, of course, Evan Fournier, John, what's your thoughts about their Knicks debut? Obviously, it's a preseason. We didn't get to see a full sample size of a full game. That counts. But what was your thoughts about the first game for Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier in a Knicks jersey?
I mean, Kemba Walker, if he gets you 50% from the field during the season, I would be ecstatic. 2 for 5 from 3. I mean, he just looked comfortable out there. That's all I needed to see. I just needed to see Kemba Walker and Fournier look comfortable, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, the whole team was plus, right? So I can't really take that into account. They both had exactly 12 points, which I think was classic, right? But I'm just comfortable with them being comfortable, because the biggest worry you have with free agents coming in, especially adding 2 to a starting lineup, one guy, Kemba Walker, you're expecting to literally lead your entire offense. It can get sticky, right? And it could take you 10, 15 games to get ready. And then by the time that happens, you could already be in a rut, in the season. And who knows what happens from there. So it's really important that the Knicks get off to a hot start. And it's really going to I mean, we already know what we're getting from Randle and RJ. I hope, right? We know what they're gonna do. We've seen enough, and we're depending on them. We know what the center position is gonna give us. It's really the X factors are what our new pieces are gonna add to the puzzle piece. So I'm I'm just content, and that might feel like like corny answers, or like I'm just like, oh, whatever. But that to me is the biggest luxury I've ever had in my life going into a Knicks season. Like just this time last year, we're talking about what we're gonna do with Randle, whether he should be on this team anymore. And now we're sitting here like, all right, we were just a 4th seed. How many games are we gonna win? Over under 46. Like we're sitting pretty right now, and we as Knicks fans, you're talking about the last time we had a point guard. When's the last time we felt comfortable going into the season? So I just feel like I'm sitting on a golden chair right now, in this preseason, and we're playing with house money.
It feels weird, and that's how we start off the show. It just doesn't feel right. Like, especially where we were last year at this time. Like, everything happened so fast. The offseason was so weird. Free agency and the draft happened, and all of a sudden the season starts in 3 weeks. And I was right there. I was like, is Julius going to be here next year? We drafted Obi Toppin. And now Julius Randle's the future, and he's like my favorite player, and he is literally played out of his mind all season last year, and he looks so quick, and I can't wait to talk about Randle. But, Alex, I want to get your thoughts about Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, and what you really saw from them in their first time playing with the Knicks.
Well, what I got is that they brought over what they were doing in Boston when they were together for that short stint. They have the 2-man game together. They bring the floor spacing, they bring the shot creation, they bring the playmaking. They just made it easier for everyone on the court. I mean, if you just look at the starting unit stats, even though only Randle played 30 minutes, which was the most of anyone yesterday, like you look at the points, it was 20 points for Randle, 14 for Taj, 12 for Walker, 12 for Fournier, 17 for RJ. It's pretty evenly distributed, like amongst scoring. It wasn't, all right, guys, now we got to rely on Randle to get 28 to like 35 points to really get us through this game. And we felt comfortable having the ball just distribute to everybody. No one was trying to like force shots. It seems like everything was just natural. So I think just having guys who play at a high level, who are also relieved from not having to carry the team. Like Kemba had to carry the team in Charlotte. Like that was his team. Evan Fournier was asked to do major playmaking when he was down in Orlando. They both don't have to do that anymore. Now you also you throw Julius Randle into that mix, a guy who was last season the catalyst of this team. You have 3 guys who were catalysts of their own teams at some point, and now they're together saying, we can rely on each other. We can now work with each other and now play as a unit to just make it easy for one another to get each other the open looks that we want. You see Kemba just, doing pick and roll with Julius Randle yesterday, which is something that we didn't really get to see with Elfrid Payton because he couldn't hit a mid-range jumper. And when you have Kemba Walker who's able to do, the things where they're shooting from deep, hitting the mid-range, or just finishing at the rack, like that changes the whole dynamic of the offense. So it just makes everything easier. And like by those 2 alone, you just saw Randle, Richie, you just said like he looks quicker, he looks faster, but he's able to look even quicker and faster because he doesn't have to feel that stress either. Like he can legit just pass it out to anybody and say, I don't need to do it this play. I got guys that can help me. And even like, let's talk about RJ too. Like RJ looked good too.
We're
like
going to.
He's man. I can't wait to talk about RJ because that boy looks ready.
That's my guy. But yeah, it just feels so refreshing because, as we know, we replaced Elfrid Payton with Kemba Walker. We replaced Reggie Bullock with Evan Fournier. And the biggest difference so far, even just in one game, you can tell that we have multiple playmakers that can put the ball on the floor. And that's the biggest transition from especially Reggie Bullock to Evan Fournier that I noticed. We know last year, Randle and Reggie, they played that 2-man game. And now it's going to be Fournier and Randle. But the one thing that Reggie was limited in, and I love Reggie, he did such a great job for the Knicks last year. He's limited in terms of his offensive ability. He's a catch and shoot guy, 3-and-D, and that's a really crucial part to some teams. But Evan Fournier, okay, he's not really there on the defensive end like Reggie, but he can do all the things he can 3-point wise, but he can also put the ball on the floor and create for others, create his own shot, drive to the rim. We saw that and one beautifully in the paint. So I feel like Fournier and Randle, they're going to be playing 2-man games a lot. And Kemba Walker, I mean, you could just talk so much about how his presence on the court, you can feel that he really cares about being home in New York City. It's just it really feels like a story that's just going to be, looked back on for years and how awesome it's going to be for the Knicks. Now let's get into Julius Randle real quick, and then we're going to get into RJ Barrett. So Julius, to me, what I noticed from him And I said this in my recap video, and I just mentioned it earlier, but he really looks so fast and quick out there. And he did look that last year. He was in shape, and obviously he had his career year. He won Most Improved Player. We all know the accolades he won, and he carried this entire team. But I don't know why, but I was watching the game, and I'm watching Randle like size somebody up or just bring the ball up, and I'm realizing like, wait a second, Randle's like giant to be doing what he's doing. Like he's not like, this is like LeBron-esque. Like I'm not comparing him to LeBron. I'm just talking about physically. Like him being that tall and being able to move that well at the power forward position, that's not common. And that's the future of the league. If you are able to stretch the floor and create your own shot the way Randle can at that position, it just unlocks different abilities for your offense, and especially his playmaking ability. Like we saw it all last year, and he did a great job with it, of course. But I just don't know why. He just looked way quicker out there. I feel like he really tightened up his dribble moves, because in the offseason, I guarantee he was working on those side steps, sizing people up at the three-point line, step back, all those crazy shots and dribble moves. I feel like he's really tightening that up. And I just really was taken away how quick and decisive Julius Randle was. And Julius Randle said this in a press conference during media day about what he needs to improve on. And looking back on, he obviously struggled in the playoffs against the Hawks. And he said he just needs to make quicker decisions, be more decisive, don't overcomplicate things. And I feel like that's the biggest thing for Julius Randle, to take that even bigger step to establish himself as a real star in this league, because the physical abilities are there. We all know that he's physically talented. And now all of a sudden he can shoot the ball. Like last year, we didn't think he could shoot the ball. Now he's like one of the best shooters on the damn team. But I feel like now Julius Randle, and like you said, Alex, he doesn't have to rely on being the number one guy at every single given moment. He can give the ball to Kemba to create. He can give the ball to RJ, even Fournier. There's so many people on this team now that Randle doesn't feel like the weight's on his shoulders, and that's going to open him up, and it's also going to simplify the offense for him, because I think that's why he just got shut down in that Atlanta Hawks series. He's never been that number one guy to been absolutely defensively. Game plan is to shut you down. They're going to double team you on the wing. They're going to create this mess down low, so when you try to pass it outside, they know it's coming. They're going to pick it off. Like that's what we saw in the playoffs. So I'm just really impressed with Randle's shape. I'm really impressed with how he came into the press conference during media day and how he talked about what he wanted to improve on. He didn't talk about his game like at all. Like he didn't really talk about, I want to improve my shooting. I want to improve my dribble moves. I want to improve this. All he talked about is his mental ability of processing things quickly, making the right decisions, and don't overcomplicate things. And that's really something that I took from Julius Randle. So, John, what's your expectations from Julius Randle going into this year? Obviously, it's going to be hard for him to replicate what he did last year, simply because of how special it truly was. I don't know if he can shoot 41% from three again, but hey, I'm not saying he can't, but that's going to be really hard to do. I do feel like he's going to go up assists-wise, even though he did average 6 assists, and that's a lot for a power forward. So what's your expectations for Julius Randle? Do you think he's going to even have a better season this year than he did last?
So statistically, I'm not sure, but I think you hit it, Julius Randle, with the nail on the head. He doesn't need to be statistically better to actually have a better season, because if he's comfortable on and off the court, if he's controlling the narrative in the locker room, let's not forget, every time they go on the road, Julius Randle finds a gym and they have to start shooting, right? I mean, that's culture. He set that up. I mean, he's ready to play ball. He's coming into the season. He knows he has Kemba Walker. He knows he has D Rose behind him now. Like, there's no guy that's going to come in for 7 minutes and then we're already on our bench. You know what I mean? There's some continuity there. And, just touching back on last year when, we're sitting in this position wondering what Julius Randle's future is with the Knicks as a whole, the problem was he was doing exactly what you're so happy about, that he can do, which is bringing up the ball and controlling the game. But the problem is you have to do that every single play. And not only do you get worn down during the game, but it just doesn't work in crunch time in the fourth quarter. And now he has Kemba Walker. So now he's good to go, man. Everyone can relate when you're in a happy situation, especially at work, you're comfortable. You just have to do your job. No one's going to ask you to do anything out of your comfort zone. No one's going to ask you to do too much. I mean, everything is looking good chemistry wise. So if Julius Randle can just, I don't really care about the statistics that much, as long as the field goal percentage doesn't drop. I mean, that's really the key that I'm worried. I don't care about how many assists he gets. I don't really care that he gets too many points. I mean, I would like for him to hover around 20. That'd be nice, but I'm not gonna kill him over it. What I'm really gonna be upset about is if the field goal percentage goes down. If he starts chucking shots, his efficiency goes down. That's not going to be good because the whole thing is our pace is going to go up with Kemba Walker. So if the pace goes up and the efficiency stays the same, we're going to be killing teams. 125 points is going to be a normal thing. So, that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm expecting from Julius Randle. I'm expecting for him to grow as a player, actually be better, even though the statistics might not really reflect that, per se.
Very interesting. I love that take on Randle. I feel like that he can have a way better season this year, even if the stats don't back it up in terms of just comparing it last year. Shout out to everybody in the chat tonight. I hope you guys are enjoying. This is my first Knicks Media live stream in quite some time. Feels good to be back talking Knicks ball with John and Alex. If you guys want to check out their podcast, that's down below in the description. Hope you guys are having a great night. Shout out to Kelvin. This is like, he's in every single stream of mine. Kelvin, it's great to see you back in the stream. Hope all is well by you, man. Hope the family and everything is going well by you, Kelvin. And of course, shout out to everybody else in the chat. Love to see you guys back here. I see all the familiar faces. Love it. I love it. Feels good, man. So, Alex, want to give your thoughts about Randle and what you expect from him this season, and really just piggybacking off of what John had to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think John laid it out perfectly. Like, the stats don't need to be the same. Sure, we may see them come down. Maybe the 3-point percentage won't be the 41% that we saw last season. He may not average like the 25, 26 points per game that he was last season, but that's okay as long as he's efficient and the team is winning. Like, and that the big one is the team winning. Like, no one's going to care what your stats are if the team is winning and everyone's playing at a high level. I don't think there's really like the one thing I guess, like, I'm not looking for him to get more assists. I'm not looking for him to like be this crazy like LeBron, but I want to actually touch on that because Rich, you mentioned that like he's a big dude, right? And I have to go back to what Kobe Bryant said when he came into the league. He said he's a mix between Zebo and Lamar Odom. Like, he has the handle of like Lamar Odom for a power forward, but he has the size of Zach Randolph. And you see that together by the way he's able to like bring the ball up. He's able to size up somebody right now. His handle did get tighter. You saw him train with Tyler Ralph this offseason, just taking it up another notch. You could just see that Julius has been in the gym just ready to get after it this season. He didn't like the way that it ended last season. He said he overcomplicated it in the playoffs. I think he's ready to make it simpler on himself. I think the front office has decided, as not only they've shown that they want to make it simpler on him as well. His agent was Leon Rose before Leon Rose became the Pobo. He was tight with Worldwide West prior before Worldwide West joined the Knicks organization. So like these guys are also looking out for him, and they saw like they and Tibbs is their guy as well, right? Tibbs is Wes's guy. It's Leon's guy. So they're all on the same page. They all want to make this game easier for everyone. And I think that's just what we're going to see for Randle too, because you just hear whether it's Tom Thibodeau, whether it's anyone on the team, like Randle is the guy. He is the leader. He is, as of right now, the face of the franchise. Everyone wants to talk about RJ being the face of the franchise. As of right now, it's just Julius Randle because he's earned that moniker. He's earned it by how he was able to turn around that season. We were talking about last season, should we trade Julius Randle and Frank Ntilikina for Buddy Hield? And then now we're just like, whoa, what? Well, we got to keep this guy. Like, what are we even talking about? Like, how are we even talking about like even wanting to get rid of this guy? Why is that even?
It happened so fast too.
Yeah, it's so quick. And so for Randle, there's not really like the only expectation is just to play like what he did last season, not statistically, but just be that team leader and just lead this team to a winning record and take us further than what we did last season. That's the one thing I will say actually is that we can't have a repeat of what we had in the playoffs. The goal is set pretty high now. It's not just make the playoffs. It's we got to get further in the playoffs, and he's got to perform better than what he did last season in the playoffs. He's got the weapons now around him. Now he's got to show that, all right, you talked about simplifying that game. Simplify that game, be that leader in the playoffs, and come up big for us. That's all we got to ask from him this season.
Yeah, that's the thing about Randle that's going to be, talked about throughout this entire regular season. No matter how good he plays, I feel like everybody's going to say he's playing good now, but we'll see what he can do in the playoffs, because that was the issue last year. And that's what really sucked the life out of me, because that special Julius Randle season, it didn't ruin it for me, but some of my subscribers, some of my friends were like, oh, Randle's a bum. I'm like, what do you mean Randle's a bum? Shut up.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, they were probably getting caught up in him being, the point forward for the entire game.
Yeah.
And I get it, but now it's a luxury, man. You just sometimes when you put the pieces together, it'll all be okay. And I am excited for Randle in the playoffs, like Alex said, but I need him to come through on Christmas Day too.
That is technically the playoffs.
I need him to come through that day.
Yeah, I feel like Randle has a lot. And one last note about Randle I want to mention. I feel like that first year with the Knicks under Fizdale, that was a year to really like learn what it's like to play as a New York Knick and understand the market, feel what it's like to have everybody against you, not only like the media, but his own fan base was against him. And now he has that experience in the playoffs. So we know that Randle has a mental ability to learn from his mistakes. When he gets experience, he knows what to expect. And I feel like he's going to really attack it this year when we do make the postseason. And I'm excited to see what Randle can do. Julius, the one thing I will say about Randle as well last year, because I love talking about this moment for me personally, I was sold of Randle like probably early in the preseason last year, maybe early in the season. I'm like, okay, wait, maybe we're all wrong about Julius. But then late in the season, who I really fell in love with Randle was against the Brooklyn Nets in the Barclays Center when he had that, missed call where they hit the ball and you went up and they called it travel. Like his energy in that moment and his like passion and how much he genuinely cared like about like, and now he knew how much that game meant to Knicks fans, like versing the city rival, the Brooklyn Nets. And like he was going livid, as you guys remember. And I just remember like watching him like, dude, this guy is sick. Like this guy needs to be the guy for the Knicks forever. Like that's the guy I want to be the leader of the New York Knicks. Like he just like really exemplified what it means to be a New York Knick, have that grit, have that passion, play with like, that intense energy. And I don't know why, but that exact moment really just sold it for me where I'm like, give this man the extension now. And I'm so happy that they gave him that extension that he did because he is here long-term. So now moving on from Julius Randle, let's talk about my favorite player on the New York Knicks. And that's RJ damn Barrett. RJ Barrett has been my guy since we drafted him. Ironically enough, before Knicks media, I was RJ Barrett media on Instagram and Twitter.
Nice.
I had a fan page on RJ. And I said, you know what? I got to switch it from RJ because I want to talk about the entire Knicks team. I don't want to just talk about RJ. And then I switched it to Knicks media. And then I eventually made my YouTube channel a couple months later. But that's just a funny little story of how much I am high on RJ. So I was always with him, down with his lows. Everyone's calling him a bust. Not everyone. People were calling him a bust. Like, he can't shoot. He can't do this. I'm like, yo, nah, it's all about his mental ability. Like, that's what's different about RJ. Like, it's his mental ability, how he approaches the game. That's what's going to separate himself. And that's why he's going to get better and better every single year, gradually. What did RJ Barrett do from year 1 to year 2? He literally improved in every single stat. And what I noticed from RJ Barrett last night, he looked bigger. Like, not like drastically huge, but you could tell he either grew or he put more muscle on, but he looks a little 21. Big. Yeah, exactly.
Humans are still growing.
Exactly. And I noticed that. It really looked noticeable. And I knew that going in. I'm like, I'm excited to see RJ. I'm curious if he's still growing because he is that young, like you mentioned, John. And I feel like, the small sample size we got from RJ last night, 17 points, 7 of 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from downtown. He might be our best 3-point shooter at this point, which is insane. 3 rebounds, 2 dimes, and a steal from RJ Barrett. He has a really crucial role. And I feel like he's like low-key one of the most underappreciated players on the Knicks because now that we got Kemba and now, D Rose, we all love D Rose. Quickly and Obi, they're like, the rookies last year. That was so fun. And obviously RJ is one of the most fan favorite players on the Knicks. But even just last night's game in particular, like, he just had such a quiet 17 points. And like, we're all talking about, the debuts of all these guys. And I just love how what I saw from RJ, it feels like everything's slowing down for him. He's not overcomplicating things. Like, he's driving to the rim with ease. He's making his contested jump shots. He's pulling up from mid-range. He's hitting his floaters. Like, he's playing good defense. He had that awesome steal and then went coast to coast, finished through contact. Like, I really feel like RJ Barrett's about to break out in year number 3. I made a whole video about it of why I do think that, comparing him to a lot of other players around the league. So, John, what's your expectations for RJ Barrett entering year number 3? Do you think that this is the year where he's going to take that big jump, or do you think he's just going to like drastically improve? I don't think he's going to be that number 1 option on the Knicks by any means. And this is Randle's team. Even Kemba might even average more points than him. But what do you think RJ's role is going to be on this team in year number 3 for him?
I love that you have this passion for RJ Barrett because I am right there with you, man. And he's 21 years old and he is the leader of this franchise. I know it's really Julius Randle, but low key it's RJ Barrett. He's really like our Simba basically, right? Like he's untradeable. He's our guy. Like
we drafted
everything. He's everything that Tom Thibodeau wants in a player, and that's really where everything comes together, right? Because I mean, RJ and Fizdale is just not going to work. I mean, even if he's 27, it just wasn't going to work in that system. It's not happening. He needs to buckle down, play defense, have a point guard, and you're telling me it's ridiculous that he's leading the Knicks in 3-pointers. He led the NBA in corner 3-point percentage. You know what I mean? He just gets so much slander from the Knicks fans because we are, overanalyzing every single play he does, and we can't understand that he's a 20-year-old. We just see that he was drafted 2 years ago. So what's up? What's the problem? Like we sometimes we get a little caught up. And then when I say something like, "Oh, he's probably better than Jimmy Butler was at this point in his career," right? Because I say, "Oh, he could be a Jimmy Butler later on in his career," just trying to like not say he's Jimmy Butler, the all-star, right? And people would get at me. But if you just look at the stats in his first 2 years, even though he's way younger, he's doing better than Jimmy Butler. And he doesn't need to be Steph Curry. He doesn't need to be Klay Thompson. He doesn't need to be these guys. He just needs to defend, hit the mid-range, hit the threes, like you said, and just be gritty. Like RJ, when Julius Randle's out sometimes, RJ gets the ball because the offense is stagnant, and he just puts his head down and makes the play, like gets to the basket. Like those are momentum plays. Those are worth more than 2 points. Those are not necessarily Steph Curry 3-pointers at home, but they have the same effect. You know what I mean? It's more than just a basket. It's, oh, okay, this 20-year-old just put his head down and got us 2 points. Like, maybe I should get up and do something next play. I mean, that's how they're looking at it. They're traveling together. They're grown men. And so I love that RJ is growing up so fast in this system.
He really is. And like, he's 21 years old. Fun fact, same age as the Knicks rookies. Like, what? RJ's entering year number 3.
He's just allowed into a bar, man. Like just now he's allowed into a bar.
Yeah, man. And it doesn't make sense. I'm like finally at that age where, I mean, I've been that way for a while now, but I'm finally at that age where players are younger than me in the league, and I'm young myself. I'm 23 years old. So it's weird seeing this. And RJ, I can talk about him for the next hour or two of what I think. But before I give my player comparison on RJ Barrett, I want to hear Alex's thoughts about RJ Barrett. What do you expect from him in year number 3? How good can he be? Not in the future, but this season, Alex.
This season, I think, first of all, let me just shout out to my guy, John Talento. I see you in the chat, John. See you from the KFTV over here. Appreciate it. But for RJ this season, I think he can average 20 points per game. I think that's what we can get out of RJ this season. I think we can actually get up there this season. I wouldn't be surprised either. I
like that.
We saw 17, we saw on the 17, 18 points last season. He's just so close, man. He just has to be very efficient with his like 20 points per game. But I think he's like really right there. I think RJ, like I have high hopes for RJ this season. I don't know about like the major breakout. Like we saw a major leap last season, like a massive leap to go from 32% 3-pointer to 40%. That's a huge leap. The thing that he has to do, and we saw that over
from G
last
League
night.
RJ, man. From G League RJ.
I can't believe we had that nonsense.
Oh my God. I wanted to literally rip my face off.
It's just like, can we just be patient? And the thing is, like, I think the love around RJ too is one, he is the first round draft pick that the Knicks selected. That you actually have faith behind saying this draft pick will pan out. Like high draft pick, first rounder, this kid has the work ethic. And you saw it like whether it was at Duke, whether it was like when he was at Mount Verde, he just has that grind in him that he just is destined for greatness, right? Is he going to be that like elite player like in the Kawhis and types of stuff like that? I don't know. Honestly, don't know. That's for him to write and for him to get there himself. But what I can say is that he's going to put all the work in. We see that from this offseason. He got stronger. Last night, his game just looked a little bit more buttery than usual. Like even just trying to doing pull-up jumpers off the dribble, like adding that to his game, that will help him get to 20 points because now you have to honor him on the move. Now you have to say, oh, snap. Is he going to pull from three? Is he going to pull mid-range? Or is he going to drive to the basket? The things that he has to do, though, is to finish better around the basket and to hit those things off the pull-up. And I think even just by adding those games on, he doesn't have to be elite. He doesn't have to be like the greatest like pull-up jumper this season. As long as he's doing that, I think he can then get to 20 points per game. He can get to the line easily. Like he gets fouled very easily. And he improved his free throw percentage from 62% to 73% last season. Just like one off season, he went from 3-point and free throw percentage, which was horrible his rookie season, to then becoming legit his sophomore year.
Absolutely awful.
Third season, like putting in that work, like I think he can get to 20 points. Like that's why I get from like RJ. And for him, the next other thing is like playmaking. That's going to be the biggest thing for me from him. Like,
nice
can
pass
he
to
be
Taj last night?
He had a very nice pass. He finds Mitchell Robinson on the Gotham lob very easily. Like, that's the stuff that we need to see. Like, getting a lob to Mitch is, in my book, like the easy part. It's finding like the bounce passes, the guys cutting. That's the stuff what we got to see. He had that nice pass to Taj, as you pointed out, Richie. That's the stuff I want to see from RJ. But I can see him taking like year 3 RJ, because if you look at players in their third year, whether it's like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, they're not necessarily like the most dominant guys. But that third year is such a foundational year for them that you see their game really starting to roll out and say, oh, this is what this guy can be. And then after that is, can he add on to be a higher efficient player, right? Whether it's scoring over 20 points per game. Can he get the 5 assists easily? Can he be that clutch guy down the stretch? That's the stuff that we're going to see from RJ. That's the stuff I want to see from RJ this season. But I think as just like an overall like player-wise, I think we're going to get 20 points from RJ this season. That's my take.
I definitely think it's possible. I mean, averaging 17.6 last year with Elfrid Dan Payton as the starting point guard. I don't know why he can't do that this year. And one guy I started to compare RJ Barrett to, and not his play style on the court. They don't have the same like capabilities on the court. They're two different players, but just in terms of their trajectory of their career, they have the same trainer as well. And that's Jason Tatum. Because if you look at Jason Tatum's rookie numbers and you look at Jason Tatum's sophomore numbers, RJ Barrett had better years in both. And Jason Tatum, that third year, was where he really broke out and established himself as an ascending star. And then I think we just finished Jason Tatum's fourth year, and then we all know what Jason Tatum is now, and now is entering year number 5. So that's someone that I looked at statistically. They're both third overall picks, both out of Duke, both of the same exact trainer. Obviously, it's not going to be the same exact situation. It's two different teams, two different play styles, like completely different play styles. But I don't know. Something like that really shows me like RJ has that ability to take that next step, because there's so many guys that's done it like that, where they start off the rookie season, they have the ups and downs, they have the inefficiencies, they have all this stuff. And then year 2, if you have a year 2 of improving in every single stat, that tells you what is going to happen for the rest of your career. And the only thing that's going to hold somebody back is your mental ability. And RJ has that by any means necessary. I feel like RJ is really destined to get better and better each year. And how crazy is this that like now all of a sudden, like comparing to what we thought about RJ coming out of Duke as a rookie, we consider him more of a better shooter from the perimeter than finishing at the rim. I feel like last year, like who would have thought? Like me personally, I expected RJ to be the guy as a rookie in his like career with the Knicks, is being that athletic guy that just finishes through the rim and is going to struggle from the perimeter throughout the course of his career. I mean, he fixes jump shots so fast, and now he really needs to focus on finishing at the rim more efficiently. Because Alex, I know that you mentioned that, and I know he can do that. It's not like he can't, but there were some times last year he missed easy layups, but he really needs to really clean up those shots around the rim. So now moving on from RJ Barrett, let's go to the bench unit, because this is awesome, because it's the same exact 5 coming off the bench from last year. And it's just, the one word that really is going to be stapled in Leon Rose's head and his whole mindset when it came to, this offseason is continuity. And I feel like that's really huge with this Knicks team, having the guys coming back. Like, remember, D Rose was a free agent, Alec Burks was a free agent, Nerlens Noel, Taj Gibson. Like, these guys could have easily walked out of the door But no, the Knicks front office, they wanted to retain the guys that brought them to the playoffs. That was a big part of it. And this bench unit has so much chemistry. We got Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, Alec Burks, Obi Toppin. And when the centers are healthy, we're expecting Nerlens Noel to be the backup and Mitch being the starter. So, John, what's your thoughts about this bench unit? And what do you think this bench unit can really do offensively and defensively?
So not only is it continuity, but they're actually gonna be able to play in their role. Like D Rose is actually going to be able to be a bench point guard and not be asked to play 36 minutes in a playoff game, and just have to be honestly the MVP for us during the regular season. He's not going to need to do any of that. So it's more than continuity. They're actually going to be allowed to play in their role. But if you're going to ask me about the bench unit, I think it's going to really come down to the centers. Like, if we can get Mitch Robinson into the starting center and we have Noel on our bench, / Taj whenever we need him, that would be unbelievable. But it just never works out that way. It's never perfect. Yeah. So even if it's Taj there the whole time and we have to move, either or Noel or Mitch are, interchanged hurt during the year, I'm still excited about that. But it's really the center is our anchor. It's always been Thibodeau's anchor in his defense. It always comes down to the center. So
yeah, man, I feel like in Taj Gibson, like we didn't really talk about him. He at 37 years old, he's turning back the clock. He did it last year. He looks great. He's making plays. He hit a damn 3-pointer. And like that's just Taj Gibson, man. Like
feeling it.
I'm so happy that we've retained him and he's a Knick because you need an OG like that. And you need an established vet that's been in the league for as long as him. He knows the system. Taj, I feel like just gets, underappreciated at times because we're so caught up in all the great players that we have around him. So Alex, what's your thoughts about the bench unit and what you really want to see, year 2 IQ, year 2 Obi Toppin, D Rose with them, Alec Burks is back. Like this bench unit's fun. Like there was a point last year during the games, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for the bench to come in. I can't wait. Like there was a point last year where I was like excited. And like, when the hell was the last time we said that as Knicks fans?
It is crazy. And no,
a lot of firsts last year. A lot of firsts.
Oh my God. But no, I'm excited for this bench returning. I wrote a piece about Derrick Rose giving the keys to Kemba Walker for Knicks Fan TV, an article over there. So go check that out. Shameless plug. But I did mention in that piece the differential last season for that lineup with Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin, Alec Burks, and Taj Gibson, that the differential was a plus 17.9. That's a high differential. To put that into context, there were 271 to be considered in. That's by Cleaning the Glass, by the way. To be in Cleaning the Glass's lineup differential like that, the lineups have had to have had over 100 minutes played together minimum. Out of 271 lineups, that bench unit was in the top 30 to 40 bench units in the NBA for a second unit. That should already tell you last season how good that bench unit is. To bring that back and have continuity, which is a strange word around these parts for the New York Knicks, is just, man, having continuity there, having second year Obi Toppin, who, as Rich, you pointed earlier in the show, looked electric with his spin move last night, just looked more confident than last season, actually knew what to do when he got the ball and is calling for the ball as well, like when he's on the perimeter. That's Obi Toppin we didn't see last season. He was ready to pass it off and just try to get his footing in the NBA. Emmanuel Quickley looking more confident, had 7 dimes last night, looking to be more of a playmaker. His shot didn't come around, but he's still fearless. He's still confident in his shot. It will drop. And just having year 2 of those guys, another year in the NBA, I'm expecting big things for this second unit. I mean, John pointed out it's going to be with the centers who's going to anchor it. It doesn't matter if it's Nerlens Noel. It doesn't matter if it's Taj Gibson. It doesn't even honestly matter if it's Jericho Sims. Like Jericho Sims had a little rough outing yesterday. He looked okay. Like he had moments where you're like, okay, you see him boxing out, being a center, just like hustling for rebounds. But then he also had those difficulties just trying to get easy bunnies, just put backs. But I think that may have been butterflies in his stomach rather than how he would actually play. I don't care what center it is. As long as we have those 4 of Obi Toppin, Alec Burks, Derrick Rose, and Emmanuel Quickley, I think the second unit is going to be flying, personally.
Yeah, man. And Quickly, speaking about him real quick, he had such a low-key near triple-double last night. Like, are you kidding me? Quickly, 10 points, 7 dimes, 6 rebounds.
Quiet, too. You wouldn't know.
No, like what? 6 boards. Whoa. So IQ got a lot of playing time in the summer league playing the 1. And we know that he talks like he's a point guard. When people ask him, he says, "I am a point guard." Us Knicks fans, some people say, "No, you're not a point guard." Some people say, "No, you are." I say he's a combo guard, and you can do both. And that's the cool thing about our backcourt off the bench is we have Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickly, and they can both play on the ball and off the ball. So they can, whoever's in rhythm gets the ball, dribbling it up. And it felt like last night, IQ is more the point guard. It felt like D Rose was like, yo, I don't know if it's just preseason. D Rose is like, yeah, I'm not going to, like it's just D Rose. He's so nonchalant and so just awesome. But obviously D Rose flashed and had a crazy layup and he still did his thing. But it felt like he was like, all right, quick, light up the garden real quick. Like, no pun intended. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts about IQ and Obi Toppin in particular, because they flashed on the scene last year as rookies, especially Quickly right off the gate. He was a steal of the draft. He looked like a guy, like, how did he fall to us? He plays with zero, like, fear at all. He plays with all confidence. He's moxie. We see him in the offseason with Jay-Z. We see him with Meek Mill. We see him, like, all over the place. He's flying private jets, as RJ was teasing him about. Like, IQ just looks like that guy who's just a fan favorite. And then we saw Obi Toppin as well. His rookie season, our expectations going in were wrong. We're like, oh, Obi Toppin, college player of the year, one of the oldest rookies. He's immediately going to dominate the league. And like, that's what I thought, at least. Not to that extent, but I thought he would be way more NBA ready. And I feel like we did as well. And it took him a little while to get his foot, everything, start clicking for him. He had that calf injury that held him back. And then we saw glimpses of his potential. And all of a sudden the playoffs come around and it's the most pressure of the entire year. And we see a completely different Obi Toppin. And I'm like, whoa, I guess Obi Toppin needs to have pressure and a full Garden crowd in order for him to play good basketball, because that was a different Obi Toppin that we've not seen all season long. And then we see him ball out in Summer League, averaging over 21 points per game. And I think he was on the all Summer League first team. So, Alex, we'll start with you on this one, switching up the rotation. What's your thoughts about Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin entering your number 2? And what do you think they both need to do to take that big step similarly to RJ Barrett?
I'll start off with Obi Toppin, because I feel like he's a bigger question mark, because in front of him is Julius Randle. And the question is the minutes. How's he going to get the minutes to be on the court? He got 14 minutes last night in a preseason. And we're joking that Tom Thibodeau is in like regular season form. So for him, it's how is he going to utilize the 15 minutes on the court, hopefully 20 minutes, and are they going to be high efficient, like impactful minutes? Like that's what we have to see from him. We saw the confidence in Summer League. Me personally, when I watched him in Summer League, he showed more confidence. He showed more fluidity. He still showed like a little bit of nervousness on some nights, but I feel like last night's game, you could see him just feeling comfortable on the court. I want to see that translate into the regular season and not just Summer League and preseason. But it's really going to come down to him being impactful for those 15 minutes. If he can average what he did last night, 10 and 5 in those 15 minutes during the regular season, he's golden. Like he is truly like a golden like player, because he's not going to outplay Randle. I highly doubt we're going to get any small ball with Randle and Toppin on the court together. So he's going to have to take care of those minutes. And what he did last night is exactly what he has to do during the regular season. For Emmanuel Quickly, it's funny that you talk about him being point guard. Even Tom Thibodeau says, yeah, he can be a point guard. Like point guards today are, they're shoot first point guards. They're scorers. They open it up for everybody else. And he thinks that he can be a point guard. You see Tom Thibodeau during Summer League coaching him, saying, hey, this is what you should be doing. This is what you shouldn't be doing. So I have high hopes for Emmanuel Quickly on what he's going to do year 2. I think for him to take that leap this year is to be that playmaker. We know that he can shoot. We know that he can shoot from deep, and that people have to honor him 30 feet out or even close to like half court. Can he actually, like he had 7 dimes last night, can he translate that into the regular season and keep it consistent? It doesn't have to be 7 dimes, because obviously your teammates have to finish those shots too for you to get the assist. But can he do what he did last night, which is just dribble into the lane, keep the drive going, find guys and not just pick up his dribble and be landlocked in the middle of the court? Can he hook? Can he curl? Can he find somebody out on the perimeter? That's the type of stuff that we're going to need to see from Emmanuel Quickly. The rebounding is awesome. Like seeing him being aggressive and just crashing the board and going up for rebounds, that's huge. He wasn't doing that last season because of his small frame. He got bigger this season. He looks more mature. He's trying to take on that leadership role. Mark Berman had that nice post the other day, that nice piece the other day talking about, yeah, man. You see in that article that Berman notes that Quickly wants to take himself seriously and be that leader. So I think he showed that from Summer League. I think that's just going to come through because he's that confident type of player. The scoring is going to be there. It's the playmaking. We need the playmaking out quickly for him to take that next jump to be that true like combo guard. Mm-hmm. And then that is where this second unit will be unlocked. That's what I need to see from Quickly.
Yeah. Interesting. I feel like Knicks fans are really excited for these two guys in year number 2. John, what do you want to see from them to really take that next step, to have that, obviously they're both coming off the bench, and Alex mentioned, Obi's playing behind Randle, so it's going to be hard for him to get minutes, especially if Randle's cooking and Randle's coming off leading the NBA in minutes. But I do feel like if Obi can really step up, that's only going to help Randle out, because we don't want Randle to be burnt out. We don't want him to be on the court as much as last year. So my eyes going into this year, if Obi can really take that next step to the point where he's hot, where Thibodeau's like, yeah, I don't need to take Obi out, because I felt like, at times last year, Obi would struggle. He would miss a defensive assignment and he would, do something really bad and immediately just pull him out. And that's a big reason why Randle got so many minutes, is because Obi just wasn't playing well. So if Obi does play well, that's going to open things up for not only Obi, but Julius Randle in terms of, sustaining him long-term for the season. So what's your thoughts about both IQ and Obi going into year 2?
Richard, we've been on the same page this whole episode, and I'm not sure whether to be excited about it or really worried about it. but I completely agree with you. I've been literally screaming this. I've been getting slandered for my Obi Toppin love. I'm sure the same way you get slandered for your RJ Barrett love.
Yeah,
kind of in the same vein. It was very obvious that Obi Toppin needed an off season. We could see it on the court. He looked confused on the court. And when Thibodeau was subbing him out, he should have been subbed out. Yeah. And if they took out Randle for Obi Toppin because of minutes, our heads would have been on fire. We needed every single minute that we squeezed out of Julius Randle last year, and not a second less. We actually needed more. Right? He kind of ran out a little bit towards the end there. We both, Alex and I, we talked to David Zenin, a trainer. We interact with him he's from Westchester, from Alex's hometown. And he always says 2 things that I always like to repeat. He always says 3rd-year RJ and 2nd-year Obi. And I agree with him. He's been saying it for years. And I mean, here we are. We're finally here. We have a point guard. I mean, my expectations, I'm really not trying to set them too high. I'm not, trying to come in here like, yeah, I need him to be Sean Marion. I need him to be Amari Stoudemire, even though in my head, that's all I see when I watch him play. Even
he's wearing the number 1 jersey.
Yeah, I mean, even the goofy plays, man. Those players were goofy on Phoenix. They weren't that great on defense. They strived off Steve Nash. They were in the system. They hit threes. They hit the mid-range. That's what the NBA is right now. They were just kind of ahead of their time. So I think they're better defenders than both those guys. I mean, maybe not Marion, but I think that Obi can really step up. The whole thing with IQ. So I was listening to an interview by Charles Oakley, and he was talking about how getting rebounds is just the mentality. Like, that's all it is. And so IQ coming out here and getting rebounds, I mean, that caught me off guard. It seems like he just wants the ball. It's all about will, and he wants minutes. He now knows. He knows 2 things, right? He knows that his team and the coaches know that he can play ball, and he also knows that he's not going to get minutes over Kemba Walker and D Rose, even if he was the best player on the whole Knicks team. It's just not happening. So he's got to find ways to get on the court, right? Switching really quick to the Jets. Salah said for players on the end of that, depth chart, they need to be able to play special teams. For the NBA, that's kind of like get the rebounds, do the little gritty things that no one wants to do. And if IQ can do that, I'm not going to hate on him too much for not having a mid-range. Like, he could stick with the 3 and the floaters. If he can get rebounds, that'd be cool. But if, as Alex said, if he could like learn that Rip Hamilton, come off the screen and hit a jumper like RJ's been trying to do, like if he could also start working on that, that would be unbelievable. Like, you wouldn't be able to guard him right? Because that's what happens with Steph Curry. He can hit the far three, he can cut you to the basket, but the problem is he could also cut you in the mid range if you're trying to cheat either way. So what am I expecting from them? I'm expecting for them to improve. I'm expecting for Obi to get more minutes than everyone thinks. I think he's going to get into the 15-20 range. I really do, because I think that Randle is not going to be needed as much. You know what I'm saying? I think we could like kind of sub him out. Like he's going to be like chilling in the back. And sometimes when in the end of the second, in the beginning of the third, I always talk about the last 8 minutes of the second, the first 8 minutes of the third, right? That's where the Knicks lose, right? That's where all basketball games are usually, but that's where the Knicks lose games. And so if we can get Randle to just, maybe be rested during those times a little bit, not use all his energy, that would be amazing, man. And if that's from our rookie, from our guy, like that would even be, so much better, just our homegrown. I don't know.
Literally,
it would be a different energy from that.
It would, and that's awesome. Like talking about Obi Toppin real quick. Like when we drafted him, some Knicks fans are like, "Oh wow, that's our future power forward." Like he's going to be here for the long term. He's going to starting power forward, but nah, he's our future backup power forward, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I feel like the bench unit is just going to be so fun to watch, like it was last year. Like I love the dynamic of Derrick Rose and the two, and I keep calling them rookies, but they're not. They're sophomores now. Yeah. Quickly and Obi, like Obi Toppin relies on a playmaker, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, I love those comparisons because they did as well. And I feel like last year there was a little too many times where I saw Obi driving to the rim. No one was giving the damn ball. So we need to see that from the Knicks playmakers. I think Derrick Rose knows how to find Obi. I feel like right when D Rose came to the Knicks, Obi Toppin got a little more confident, not only just his presence on the court, but off the court. D Rose is in the mind of not only Obi, but RJ and all the young guys. So overall, the dynamic from this Knicks team from top to bottom, I can't fall in love with it anymore. It's honestly insane. It's kind of to the point where I'm looking myself in the mirror like, am I too optimistic about this Knicks team? Like I'm trying to be realistic. I don't want to get over try to make the expectations too high because with all my teams, with the Jets this year.
Come down's hard.
Yeah, with the Jets this year, I'm going into the season. I wasn't expecting anything wins, losses wise. It's all about player development. So I'm not going to get caught up in it. And then we're 0-3. And I'm like, So it's hard. It's hard to really balance it. But with the Knicks, it's like, whoa, what is the potential of this team? Because they look so damn good together. The chemistry's there. Tom Thibodeau looks like he's literally the coach of the year last year. Like I was listening to Tom Thibodeau talk in the post game last night, and I'm hearing him talk ball. I'm like, I cannot believe he's our head coach. Like he just won. Like I'm listening to the coach of the year of the entire league, and he's on the damn Knicks. And it wasn't even his first time winning the award. It's his second. Wow, it feels good. Guys, everybody in the chat, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying the stream tonight. We got 47 likes with over 100 people watching, so make sure you guys smash that like button. And if you are fans of the New York Knicks, which I'm assuming you guys are, please make sure you go down below and click on the link and give our guys Alex and John a download on their Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. Even if you're not a Jets fan, who cares? Go over there. They're great people, as you guys can see. They got great Knicks takes, and this will definitely not be the last time you guys come on Knicks Media. It was great to have you fellas on. We're going to end the stream off here. So, Alex, anything you'd like to say before we, close things out?
Richie, thank you for having us on. Really appreciate it. You're doing great work over here. Hit the like button for Richie. Subscribe to that Knicks Media. Subscribe to Jets Media. Subscribe to all the media channels that Richie does. He does a lot of great work. Hardworking guy out here. I love the content you're doing, Richie. Really thank you again for bringing us on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Alex. And trust me, it is a tongue twister saying all my channels. Even I can't say it. Anything else you want to say, John, before we end the stream tonight?
No, that's it, man. Just thanks for having us. We'd love to have you on again for a Knicks episode next time. We had you on for a Jets, but we can't not talk about all of them. That's why we had to have Knicks, Jets, etc. We just can't. We can't separate them in our hearts. Excited for the Jets, man. You said 0-3. We're looking at 2-3 right in the face before the bye week. The Knicks. We got the opener October 20th. I mean, things are rocking for Jets Media, Knicks Media. Like, make sure to be on. Richie's always on. And I'm here, man. I'm here for all your content. I'm here for your RJ updates.
Haha, yeah, bro. If you want RJ Barrett hype videos, like come to Knicks Media. I'm gonna start my Knicks hype video actually, I think tomorrow. And that's one of my favorite videos to ever create. It's just, like a 3 to 4 minute clips of the highlights and try to make it so we can hype up Knicks Nation to the point where we really feel like we're winning the damn championship this year. That's my goal, because that's what I did with the Jets. You watched my Jets hype video?
Yep.
That's my goal, to hype people up. But then the year after that, everyone comes back to it and they're like, yo, what is this? Because if you watch my hype video for the Jets 2 years ago, it's actually hysterical. And I cringe every time I'm watching it, hyping up Adam Gase and Le'Veon Bell. But we're not going to talk about that.
That's perfect, actually. That's perfect.
Man.
All right, guys, it was great to have you fellas on. Definitely will not be the last. I hope you guys have a fantastic night in the chat. You guys are awesome. It's great to see Knicks energy all over the place. The city is back. I'll be at opening night against the Boston Celtics. The Garden's going to be popping. Woo! It feels good to be back, guys. I can't say that enough. All right, guys, we'll catch you guys next time, and peace out. Let's go,
See
Knicks.
you there, Richie.